Joe Burrow and the Ravens rivalry coming up next on the Cincinnati podcast.
Hello world, we got a special show as always. TJ Houston is out of Jimmy Chase, Coach Jim Burrow.
Time to be a Bengals
How do you
fan.
balance being a professional athlete and family obligation?
These are top 5 Bengals of all time.
All time?
Yeah.
Shock the world.
Welcome to the Cincinnati podcast. I am your host, Ace Boogie. He is your host, Zim Huday. Zim, what's going on today, bro?
And the fact that I look like a complete psycho just jumping up looking. I feel like I don't know why I do that. I just think it's like some weird. I'm weird like that. What in the world is going on with me? But I was talking to our producer Ryan backstage. We got a lot going on. I'm super worn out from the week already. I'm still recovering from the Joe Burrow interview yesterday. All these different things going on in our world. What is going on in your world, sir?
Nothing much. Just getting through everything. If you guys are watching us live or listening from home, don't forget to check out the Cincinnati YouTube channel. You can hit that like button. You can subscribe to the Cincinnati podcast channel. We've got some great content there, especially the Bengals post. So stay tuned for that. But everything's going good, bro. But we got a great show for you guys. So we're happy that you guys are back, and we're going to talk about Joe Burrow adding some fuel to the fire, obviously with the Ravens and some of his comments from there, making a good impression, and then going deep. We're going to talk about the Steelers versus the Bengals wide receivers coming up next.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
All right, Zim. Joe Burrow did a thing. He jumped on a podcast, something that he doesn't really like to do, but ended up doing. And there was one question pertaining to the Ravens where he talked about how much trash that they talked and said that he loved playing the Ravens. It was a little to a lot. What were your thoughts on Joe Burrow's comments about the Baltimore Ravens?
I loved it, man. I tell people every single day. I had tweets as soon as this was over. I said, man, the Bengals are the new villains of the NFL right now, and a lot of people got to embrace it. Some people take it as arrogance. Some people take it as whatever. You could take it however you want it. This dude is unapologetically really good, and he's not going to bite his tongue on that, and he shouldn't. It's part of the reason why I feel like a lot of people gravitated towards like anything that anyone that was positive doing Bengal stuff, including myself, is because as a Bengal fan for so long, anytime something good happened, you had to say, yeah, we did good, but we know what always happens. We bungle it up. Then you have people that have come along in the history of this organization that says, you know what? No, we did really good here. We did really good here. And this is what we're about to do. And I'm one of those guys. Joe Burrow 100% is one of them guys. And it feels good, man, like to have somebody that, like that message is going to spread through a locker room. And I just think that's important not to back down, whether it's an interview. It doesn't take away from the fact that I feel like he's still a humble guy. He went through a lot of different things that we're going to talk about in the interview that showed his humility to different situations and everything like that. But at the same time, like your confidence is key, and that's what sets us apart.
Yeah, I think to hear him say that, I think it just establishes the confidence that he does exude, and that the confidence that this team has. Like, don't forget when Jamar Chase was drafted, the first team that he said he wanted to play was the Ravens, right? And so it seems like as if the Ravens were doing a little chirping, no pun intended there. And it seemed to motivate Joe Burrow. And I think we were talking to Ryan, and he made the comparison that it's kind of that MJ poking the bear, like, and I took that personally. And I took it personal, right? And essentially that's what Joe Burrow did, and he was confident. So, and the biggest thing about this, I think, is, and I'm not sure when they recorded it. I would assume that interview was recorded recently, right?
It was recorded the night that the schedules came out, because Joe said on the interview, he said, yeah, tonight they're going to release the schedules.
Fact. So thank you for that, Zim. That means he saw what they did in the draft. he's still not scared. He's not worried. And that's calculated as well because there's been a lot of people I'm sure he's seen crowning the Ravens, talking about them coming back. And he's like, yeah, I like playing the Ravens. I'm not going to shy away from that. So I think that it was definitely the utter confidence. And I think that, especially after guys like what's the can't wait guy? What's his name? What's his name? Bart Scott.
Bart Scott.
Bartholomew. The red dot was on him and all of that. Well, the red dot is on you now. The Burrow beam is on you, and it's on your beaks right now. So you better tighten up because he's coming back for more Raven.
And I feel like the fans kind of carried that sentiment. If you looked at the comments and the reactions from different people, like Patrick Queen were saying, like noted, it's like this sentiment or this idea that they're going to just take out Joe Burrow or they're going to do something, like, I don't know if it's illegal, but even the fans was like, he better pipe down because the Ravens are coming. And I'm thinking to myself, like, y'all should be running right now. Like, this dude is really crazy.
Joe is Omar.
He really went and got an offensive line. Right. Well, like, all of these things have happened. Y'all know the story, but I just think it's so funny that they're like, man, he better watch what he say. Why? Who? You ever heard the meme? They be like, who's going to check me? It's a meme like, I'm like, who's going to check him? Like, y'all done thrown everything at him. He talked about he didn't get a late hit for like 2 years in the NFL. So, like, you couldn't take him out. You tore his leg out, and he came back and came to the Super Bowl. Who going to take? Like, what y'all going to do? 525. That's for life. You can't change that.
To change the area code to 525. Let me stop.
Can't change it.
One thing that I will say is...
See what I'm saying? See what Joe Burrow does, though? It gets you like, yeah. And that resonates.
And we talked about how calculated he is as well, right? I think the post that we just talked about today, where he was talking about how he was with his security detail and behind that Bengals line, if the red dots are on them, those guys are his security. They're going to stop those guys from getting through to him. I think it's all calculated, like we said, but shifting gears here, who, in your opinion, is the rival of the Bengals in 2022 within the division?
I could have talked about that Burrow interview for days, but for me, the rival has now come to this. Now, this is a tricky question because no matter who I say outside of the Browns, who I don't even, that's little bro for life. If I were to say the Steelers or the Ravens, no matter what, they look down on us, and those things are going to change. But the Ravens, 100%, are the rivals for me. I think the Steelers will hate them for life. We don't like them. I don't think, to me, I think that, how the AFC North goes. It's going to, you win some, you lose some. And we all accept that as Bengals fans. Other fans think that they can't lose. I don't know. But the Ravens, though, as long as Lamar Jackson's there, as long as they have this concept after, and we were talking about this, and I don't know if you guys have seen our other show on our channel. Please check it out, the Bengals Post with Jake and Mon. They even talked about how the Ravens, for whatever reason, when we go online or their fans, just do not remember in the Marvin Lewis and the AJ Green era, they did not win any games. And it resonates because moving forward to today, no matter what we say, in their minds, they honestly think they have a lot more wins. And I just think us kicking their butt for like the years to come is going to create so much resentment that there's going to be some hard plays. There's going to be some hard tackles. There's going to be some things that we don't like because this thing is now starting to boil up. That's the other flip side, which I don't think Joe cares. But by him saying a comment like that, putting 525 on him, having Harbaugh come and talk like that to Zach after the game, Zach saying he didn't give a flying flip. We don't give a darn because they did it the year following. This thing is starting to boil up, and people aren't paying attention to that part if you just been hating Steelers for life. This thing is really starting to get really interesting.
Yeah, it's getting pretty aggressive, man. I was dropping my son off at VPK this morning. I had this shirt on, the Why Not Us t-shirt on. I'm just minding my business. I'm walking my son to his teacher, and I drop him off, and I turn around, and there's this guy just sitting there, and he's like, I got a comment about your t-shirt. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he was like, you asked why not us? And he's like, it's because of this. And then he shows me a Ravens logo. And I was like, what are you talking? I'm like, 80 points. He's like, what do you mean? Oh, yeah. We put 80 on your head. I don't want to hear anything about the Ravens. But one thing that I will say is the rival for me is actually going to be the Cleveland Browns. And when I was on AFC North Talk, one of the things that I've said on there is after seeing Joe Burrow versus Baker, his rookie season, I said that this is the premier matchup now in the AFC North. That whole Ravens and Steelers thing, respect to y'all. Y'all are the OGs now. This is the prime battle within the division. They have had our number for the last couple of years, but in those games, they haven't been blowouts, right? They've been close. You've had games where they came down to the last minute, as Joe Burrow stated in his interview with Hail Mary passes to Donovan Peoples-Jones. Now you enter in Deshaun Watson. This is going to be, I think, the rivalry. You talk about the Battle of Ohio. It's always kind of lacked some of that luster until recent years because the Browns really haven't had the quarterback, right, to kind of challenge the Bengals, right? And then we had Andy Dalton in our defense. That wasn't good. He had one of his worst games against the Browns on Thursday night. We remember that. But for me, it's going to be the Browns. But get into some more of those key takeaways. One of the things that Joe Burrow kind of talked about from the interview was Baker Mayfield and his respect for Baker Mayfield. He also talked about, they had Baker, he'll land on his feet, but now they have Deshaun. And he admitted himself, like, if you got a chance to get Deshaun Watson, you got to take it. So that was another takeaway from me from Burrow. So obviously he respects that rivalry. He kind of sees him as a worthy adversary. But what other takeaways did you have from the Joe Burrow interview?
This is a deep thought that I've always had, and I've always told you this off camera. I don't like the concept of people telling civilians like ourselves, telling football players that they're being greedy or anything like that. In terms of like getting contracts for them and their family and what they're worth. One thing that always comes up is Joe Burrow. They'll say, if he just takes the Tom Brady thing and spreads the money around and trying to suggest what they should do, what Joe Burrow should do out of selfish need for our fandom, but it doesn't work that way to me. Football is football and business is business. And I love football and I want Joe Burrow to be a part of the team and I know it's going to work. But the concept that Joe Burrow is going to take less, I just don't think it. Like, there were several different points that I caught throughout that interview when he talked about the ice and he was talking about like giving the offensive lineman some ice. Just the jewelry, the grills that he has, all these different things. He said he was offended by, I don't want to say the reporter's name who asked the question, but he was offended by the question, not because he feels like he's better, but because that matters to him. Like I would feel the same way now. Like, if you see me in person, my chain is really, really bright and it's shiny. If you tell me that it's fake, I'm gonna be like, bro, I spent a lot of money on this. And those things are very important to people in the sense of, if he has that sense of awareness of who he is, he'll have the same awareness when it comes to a contract. And he'll have that sense, like, he doesn't want to be the guy that has a fake chain and acting like he's the number one quarterback. And I know that's a really weird kind of, microcosm I'm trying to present, but it's relevant to like me. Like, I couldn't have a chain and live in like a really, really small house, but I got like a $30,000 chain. It just doesn't make sense to me. Joe Burrow can't be the number one quarterback and be paid like the 10th. Like, and that's the concept that I just don't think people catch. Is like, there's a sense of pride when you go to your workplace. So I thought that was very important. I thought him talking about his conversation about sacks and the people, and I've always said this on this channel, there are going to be a lot of sacks that Joe's going to take because he doesn't view sacks as like a measuring point of how good his offensive line is. He's going to talk about he talked about how he feels about third down. I've said this too in the spaces. If Joe Burrow is on our side of the field and it's a third down, he's not sliding and he ain't throwing the ball away. It got him in trouble with a lot of interceptions early in this past season. I think he'll take control of the ball more, but he's not throwing the ball away. That's what makes him special. That's why we got those big, crazy, deep plays to Jamar Chase before the half on all of those games, because he's extending plays. So he was delivering a message to say, look, I'm always going to get sacked. I'm always going to get sacked. I'm going to extend the plays. Tony Romo used to get sacked a lot more than what people wanted him to do, but his special power was extending plays. And a lot of times, like even this year, I think he'll be protected well, but I think he'll be getting sacked still 2-3 times a game. And people will be saying, man, they didn't fix the line. But if you watch him on third down, like he said, he does not care if he's going to extend a play unless he's on their side of the field. He said that then I'll throw the ball away because I have a potential to get 3 points or something like that. So that was was a big deal. There
was a lot of
many points, bro.
The one thing was, like you said, he just tried to bring context to the sacks, right? Like, is it an overrated stat? Yeah, I think in some instances it is, because sometimes you don't see the context, right? Like, you talk about all of these next gen stats, and one of the reasons that people love them and eat them up so much is because they actually add context. Like, they take into account the situation, they take into account the competition, and those are things that you have to kind of look at, because with advanced metrics, that's the whole point of it. Like, things aren't always super straightforward and crystal clear, and sometimes you have to look at the context of those situations and when they happen to decide whether or not it's going to be that. Like you said, Joe said, if it's third down, I'm taking that chance because we're going to end up punting it anyway. So, like, it's context. It's all about the context that matters. But another thing that I took away from that interview as well was the introversion that we kind of talked about of Joe Burrow, which you would think, like, with him being this larger than life guy, he would be, super extroverted and stuff like that. And I kind of like that about him, right? Because it's like, it's still surreal for him being in all of these interviews, meeting all of these people in Cincinnati. He really put the city of Cincinnati on his shoulders last season. And, sometimes that can be a different kind of situation to get adjusted to, right? You just went from 2 years ago or 3 years ago being this guy that no one was really talking about to being this superstar on the world stage for the national championship. And now you're thrust into the franchise of the Cincinnati Bengals, and you've been the guy that has literally taken this franchise that hasn't been to the playoffs or delivered a playoff win in 31 years, and you delivered it the second year coming off of your knee surgery. So you're almost like a unreal life-size figure in the eyes of people. So seeing how he balances that was, I think, very insightful to the situation. And it just really just kind of makes him, like you said, he's kind of like a humble guy. He's like, no, I'm not doing too much. I just go to the crib. I just hang out. It really reminds me of AJ Green in a sense, right? Like, AJ Green didn't realize the kind of figure that he really was, like, in our eyes. It's almost like it's not necessarily an ignorance. It's just like they don't realize how, much people are really into them. I think Joe kind of realizes it because anything that he says goes viral, but it's still like, man, this is me now.
He talked about, and if everybody's wondering too, this is part of the Nelk podcast with the Full Send kids and all them dudes or whatever. So if y'all haven't seen this, it's already at 1 million views in like a day. He talked about another thing with the captions and stuff. So that was really big with the Cartier. Like, he felt as though his captions, so you get the funny
Caption
side of
king.
Joe. He also talked about right after the Super Bowl, and I've told people this too. They asked me on my Instagram page, why do you keep on showing highlights of the game? I'm like, bro, I have to see what happened in the game. We need to analyze what could we do better, all these different things. They was like, that's just pain and misery. I'm like, nah, like, that's who I am, bro. Like, if something doesn't go right, I need to fix it and figure out why didn't it go right.
From it.
Why would I run away? Like, why would I run away from a game? And I love the fact that he wasn't, he showed full dignity and paid homage to, hey, look, we lost this game. Definitely ain't bringing up no calls or nothing stupid like that. We didn't win this game. I immediately went to my my iPad the next day. I immediately went to the last play to see, like, that could I have gotten the Jamar Chase, which we knew on the mic'd up. But the next day I looked at it and I analyzed it, and as a team we're going to move on. You know how that resonates too. We then go back to now OTAs. They asked Jamar Chase, they asked him the same question. He said, yeah, we're moving forward with it. So now everybody's now on board with the leadership of that whole Cincinnati curse and all that Bengals talk, all that stuff is dead. If you're living and watching these games, or you're looking for a reason to say, I hate the Bengals or whatever, that's over. You lose a game, you're not going to win them all. we know that we're going to win the next one, and we know we're going to win the next one after that. And this concept of viewing the game or looking at games, or I'm not going to leave all these guys hanging and pouting. And he said, what am I going to do? Go pout in the corner? Like, I had all these people were waiting. We had to celebrate what we did this past year. And yeah, I wish we would have won the Super Bowl, but I couldn't let all the people, all the families and friends, because on the low, in the background of this, I was supposed to go to the family and friends, event and everything like that. And somebody like me, I was too salty. I got my butt in my Uber, and I went to my hotel room, and me and you had to deal with people on Spaces, but I didn't have the luxury that Joe Burrow has either. He went and said, like, we had to go do this thing and get it done, and we analyzed the game afterwards.
Then he was off to his crib, got back, went back to his crib in Cincinnati,
right?
Took a chain out, cleaned it up really nice. Served Lyle Collins up some crackers and cookies.
Yes, sir.
And he's happy to lay in the cut and literally rip your soul out with no remorse. And that is what Joe Burrow is. And I think that that's what he represents. But moving forward, let's talk about OTAs, man. Like, Cam Taylor-Britt is reportedly out here impressing a lot of guys. I know Mike Hilton has some good words about him. He is a guy that I have really grown to be impressed with. I was familiar with him, but I never had gotten a chance to dive into the tape until a few weeks ago when we drafted him. One thing that really impressed me about him was the smarts and the IQ and how people didn't target him, especially in that O-State game. What are your takeaways from just Cam Taylor-Britt as a corner and what that means with him impressing? Because a lot of people feel like there's a battle at that second corner position that could open up to him. But what are your thoughts on it?
I feel like Cam Taylor-Britt has the ingredients, and you have some guys in your locker room that are going to be extroverts. And Cam Taylor-Britt with the dancing and the swag and all those different things like that. Some locker rooms I feel like have too many of those guys, as we're going to see as the season develops. Cam Taylor-Britt is going to be a voice, and I believe that he's going to say stuff even as his rookie year. So the swag, the confidence, all those things are there. I'm telling y'all now, I look at press conferences and how these guys talk to people. He's going to give people some sound bites, and he's going to say some things that people probably, as a Cincinnati native or something, might not understand. He's going to swag it out. It's going to be chains on. It's going to be all of that. But that, to me, translates to the field. And it's not as long as you're working just as hard, that's the key. As long as you're working just as hard and putting in more effort, if not the most effort, then it works it all itself out. The people that end up that talk all that crap and then don't put the work in are the people that disappoint in the history of of the sport that we love so much, football. I don't think Cam Taylor-Britt is ever going to be that. The intangibles, the agility, all these different things that we want from the from the cornerback position, they're all there. He's a rookie, so you got to wait for that. But at the same time, I think he's one of those guys that's going to be ready. I truly do.
Yeah, I truly believe that as well. I was actually in the Spaces earlier today with Antonio Cromartie talking about the DB position, and he said that is something that every corner has to have is confidence. You got to be able to have that confidence and be able to move away from it, because he's like, there's going to be games where you shut guys down. The whole league is going to praise you, and then there's going to be times when you get beat and they're going to talk about you badly again. So you're going to have ups and downs and stuff like that, and you got to have that confidence, especially going against those receivers with those situations that you're going to be in. But then, were there any other takeaways from OTAs outside of Cam Taylor-Britt that was something that kind of stood out for you within this time span?
Not too much. I remember we talked about this on the last show, the Hayden Hurst conversation, where people said he looked good. I saw a highlight too. The kid Carter.
You sent me some highlights. You sent me some. We were geeking off of them Hayden Hurst highlights. He was looking very Dallas Clark-ish. He was looking kind of fast. I don't know if we've seen that speed from the tight end position like that. I'm just saying.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, just even but going off of Hayden Hurst too, if he could, if they can figure out a way to keep him in line, like in some games where he's going to have to block some and he can actually execute some blocks like CJ Uzomah did, I just feel like this is a scary team, bro. And I'm gonna tell you who looked really slow to me. Thaddeus Moss looked really slow at that on the same drills that they were working. He did not look that strong to me.
Hey man,
But
I don't have to tell you about premium content, but about a year ago, anything that you were putting out with that Moss's name on it, viral. So I'd be excited to see what he could do though too.
Look at Hayden Hurst run the same drills as Thaddeus Moss. The Hayden Hurst looks like a Corvette, like going up against a Pinto. In the highlights that I've seen, and I always call him the big red Hurst, because he's like this big Hurst, and he's about to body the league and all these different things. But the other thing is just this. I've gone through so much stuff. We went through the Civil War with Sewell versus Jamar. Just me seeing that front, that front five in front of Joe Burrow's face, I don't know if I've ever felt like, like this, like I'm growing. Football's always been one in the trenches for me, but I always wanted to speed it up. Let's get the ball out. And for me, for 1 second, I caught myself because, like I said, I just stayed off of Twitter. I caught myself looking at the picture and just saying, "Whoa, that's what an offensive line like. That's what it should look like." There is no undersized guy. There is no, and I felt really good about that. And I just pray for really good health for those guys. And if that can happen, I'm telling y'all, man, sky is the limit for everybody. I think it makes everybody's job so much easier. It makes everybody's football life so much longer if they can protect this guy, Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I think we were rewarded with that Civil War with literally a win-win situation. We got both, right? We ended up getting Chase, and then we ended up getting the offensive line situated. So now we essentially are in a better situation because say they went and got Panay last year, there's no Chase this year, right? So the way that they went about it and did it ended up giving them the best of both worlds, and it was the right situation that the front office did. Speaking about the front office, the Bengals have signed Dax Hill and Tyson Anderson to those contracts, and we know that those are fully guaranteed because Joe Burrow on the interview also admitted that his rookie contract was fully guaranteed. So those two guys are in the fold. With those guys, I'm glad that we got them there. But let's switch it up to the favorite off-season addition. This could be draft. This could be free agency. Zim, where are you going?
Gotta be La'el Collins. It's gotta be La'el. I saw a top 10 tackle list today. People do not understand this. I'm gonna tell everybody that good quarterbacks make offensive linemen look so much better than what they really are. So right now they might not be saying La'el Collins, but if I know Joe Burrow, he's so good at getting away from pressure. And he's never had a La'el Collins, and that in itself is going to make it's like a big dancing, routine. And everyone down the line, I think, benefits from you don't have to help this guy. You don't have to help this guy. Focus on your guy. La'el Collins is just like the dog that we just haven't seen since I don't even know
Willie
when,
Anderson. Since Willie
I'm about to
Anderson.
say Willie Anderson. Somebody told me, there were brief moments where Andre Smith gave us some of that, but this is very different. And just watching, them just do their run through. I'm like, man, La'el Collins, those weak side runs, those cutbacks to the right hand side, Joe Mixon running with him. I just don't see. I just do not. If people thought that we were doing something last year, everybody's job is just getting so much simpler with this guy out there. La'el Collins having that big guy, what people wanted Panay Sewell to be, or what people wanted Terran Armstead to be, or whatever. These guys like that, they just change so many dynamics of your football team. And right. There was nothing that could top La'el Collins for me.
Yeah,
for the sake of the show.
Yeah, for me, not even for the sake of the show. I'm going to go with Kappa. You know why? It was the very first announced free agent move in free agency. I feel like it really set a statement to the league where it was, number one, you're getting an offensive lineman immediately as soon as free agency opens. Number two, you're taking one of Tom Brady's alignment from him, and it kind of sent the message that, okay, yeah, Brady's coming back and all of that because Jensen stayed and some guy stayed there, but that dude was like, look, I'm going with Joey B. I'm going with the new guy, and I feel like that sent a statement from the Bengals to not only the rest of the league, but the fan base as well. And it was like, all right, yeah, we know what needs to be done. Anybody that's casting doubt or any of that, nah, we got our guy and he's going to be protected. But speaking of that, we got to get some of these linemen, some of these Uno wings. So we're going to go to our sponsor, Midwest Best Barbecue. And if the linemen are at home watching, Ted Karras, stop in and get you some Uno wings.
Wings, Jimmy's got you with them Uno wings. Uno wings, they tell me that them Uno wings will make you do the gritty. Them Uno wings will make you do the gritty. Uno wings, come and get them Uno wings. Uno wings, who they gonna beat them Uno wings? Uno wings, Jimmy's got you with them Uno wings. Uno wings, they tell me that them Uno wings will make you do the gritty. Them Uno wings will make you do the gritty.
All right, shout out to Midwest Best Barbecue, 669 Justice Court. Visit them and get your Uno wings, get your Grippo wings, get your beef brisket, get your ice cream. You can get everything over there. All right. They also have their Midwest Best Barbecue sauce, something that they whip up theirself. It's very delicious. Me and Zim have had it. People that have been there, Greg Luther, all kinds of people and patrons of the show have been there. We've got 92 people watching live right now. If you are watching, hit that subscribe button. That helps other Bengals fans find our podcast. If you're listening in the car, send us a review. Give us a review. We truly appreciate that. That helps other Bengals find the podcast. You can find us on Audible. You can find us Google Podcasts, Apple, wherever you get them. We're on there. Just search for the Wincinnati Podcast, and we appreciate the support of this podcast growing so much. But back to football. There was a little debate going on right now on Twitter. I saw this weird kind of visual, and I saw some Hines Ward, I saw some Juju, and I saw some AB, and then I looked down, and I saw the GOAT, AJ. I saw another GOAT, Chad, and I saw another GOAT there as well with Jamar Chase. Let's talk about the all-time depth chart at the receiver position. This is something that's kind of crazy because when I'm on AFC North Talk, Steelers fans talk as if, you know, receiver is something that they've done. And I've been impressed with their room. You talk about Plaxico Burress and those guys, the Lynn Schwans and all of that. Yeah, that's cute and everything. But Zim, let's talk about this Bengals receiving depth chart of all time versus there and how it stacks up.
I don't even really know where to begin with this because I said that one time. I said, man, Bengals is wide receiver university. And I remember a Steelers fan was like, man, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, name me your top 10.
So here, I mean, for purposes of everybody at home, if you're not familiar, Hines Ward, you've got Antonio Brown,
yes,
you've got John Stallworth, Lynn Swan.
Oh, you're naming everybody.
Lips, yeah, Buddy Giles, Juju, Thigpen,
Buddy who?
Antonio Holmes, Mike Wallace. He made their top 10, and Juju. That's their
Mike
top
Wallace.
10. That's
Come on, bro.
10.
If you get, Isaac Curtis, Chad Ochocinco, Hoosh Mazada, Chris Henry, Darnay Scott, Carl Pickens. Before I even get to Jamar Chase, AJ Green,
Chris Collinsworth.
I don't even know if I put him in my top 10. Eddie Brown. Like, bro, I can still keep on going. I ain't even get to know Sanu's or nothing like that.
Marvin Jones.
I'm not being a homer at all when I say this, bro. Like, that's not even a conversation. If Mike Wallace in your top 10, bro, Mike Wallace like is the equivalent of me talking about like most
Tim
Sanu or
Tim McGee's
like
in there.
You saying Mike Wallace is in your top 10 is like saying the Bengals having Marvin Jones. Like, he's a really good receiver, flash in the pan for a short amount of time. Like, that's not a top 10 wide receiver. Like, are you serious?
And I think that they're respectable, right? And I think the argument from Steelers fans is going to be, hey, we got two Hall of Famers. Like, is Chad Johnson not really a Hall of Famer? Is, AB, yeah, he's going to be a Hall of Famer as well. We could talk about it. But there are some guys that aren't in the Hall of Fame.
I'll take it a step further with AB. AB is probably the most talented Steeler of all time. Now, I know I'm a little younger, but just go talent. Like 6-8 years straight talent. AB led at his position at a
hold on, Zim. I just thought about something else. You also didn't add in Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't even go in my bag. I didn't go in. Anybody saying that the Steelers is whatever is delusional because of the two Hall of Famer, right? But the Steelers always, like, Terry Bradshaw is not a Hall of Fame quarterback, but these guys, like these wide receivers that we're talking about, Hines Ward is the equivalent of just a good receiver for us, but he played on a Super Bowl team, and that's a big difference. And I think that's how a lot of them dudes got in the All, and they wear black and yellow. People got to wake up and go really start looking at stuff like, bro, like the Bengals for wide receivers, there's not another team in the National Football League that has
and we mentioned Carl Pickens too, right?
I say Carl Pickens.
Okay.
Generationally, always had a wide receiver that was a 1,000-yard receiver or a top 10 wide receiver every single year in the NFL. Every single year in the NFL, the Bengals has always had a top 10 wide receiver. Like, that's from the beginning of time. There are many franchises that never ever had to do that or never ever.
We're not even talking about Baby Hawk. We're not talking about, Jordan Shipley. I think at one point he was up there. Like, the Bengals do the wide receiver position, bro. Like, I get it. Yes, it is very close. I could see an argument for them, but I think that the Bengals wide receiver core is severely downplayed.
Our producer Ryan says Mike Wallace is like saying Fabulous is in your top 10 MCs. I think that's pretty fair.
I think
because Fabulous is a very accomplished rapper, right? But at the same time, who's putting them in your top 10? That is
nobody is. One, and I love you, Fab, and my wife loves Fab as well. We not putting Fab up there with like the Biggie Smalls of the world. Like, that's just not. It's just not happening.
They could go look at the numbers on every single person I added. Honestly, I wouldn't even put in that graphic that they showed. They shouldn't even put Jamar Chase. They should have put like TJ Houshmandzadeh or something. If they wanted to like even it out. Because
when you went to Juju, I'm like TJ like kills Juju for me. Juju,
like Juju.
What was Juju without AB? Nothing,
bro. Juju, I will put his numbers up against Marvin Jones. Like, I don't think Juju's numbers. Like, I gotta go look.
He had that very good first year, which was like 1,400 yards, but that a lot of that came from the attention on AB because AB, obviously future Hall of Famer. As soon as like AB was going the next year, those numbers cut in half. Like, I don't think he's ever really come close to being that 1,000-yard receiver period since then. Tyler Boyd's numbers are better.
And I had a tweet about this, and everybody write this down. Everybody is a fan of stats and PFF until your favorite player is not mentioned on that list. Then it becomes, oh, you got to watch the games. Oh, you're a casual. Oh, he was hurt. I'm going to say this time and time again. If your argument for why the Bengals ain't going to be good, why your player is better, or anything involving injuries, that is not a legit argument, and you need to touch grass and play ball. You've never played ball if you've ever said that an injury was an excuse why your person wasn't on this top 10 list. So don't tell me Juju was hurt and all that. That's what makes the great players great. That's why Jerry Rice is amazing. He was never hurt. He was always available. That's what makes Emmitt Smith amazing. He was always available. Even when he played for the Cardinals, Emmitt Smith was still running. That's what makes a great player great. If you are injured, you do not get an asterisk or merit by it. Like, that is the stupidest argument. I ask people every day on Spaces when I was on there. I would say, hey, why do you think the Bengals going to take a step back? Oh, yeah, they're probably going to get injured. What? Like, you're not talking about roster or matchups. You're banking on injury. Are you scared or are you what? Like everybody's injured. This is the National Football League. Like, I'm sorry, I had to get a quick injury ran out for everybody that's listening.
You know what also makes this podcast so great? You talked about what makes the Bengals wide receivers better than the Steelers. What makes this great right now is we have 106 people watching live. We are one of the only live Bengal podcasts that you get out there. So you guys become a part of the show and give those contributions. So we truly appreciate that. So please be sure to leave us a comment. We love reading those. Love hearing from you guys. I know that we need to interact a little bit more with you, which we will do. We do read the comments though. So we appreciate that. Hit that subscribe button. But Zim, we got some surprises coming up next week. Do you want to tease them before we get out of there with some of our surprise guests coming next week to the live Bengals podcast?
Man, we got some heavy hitters coming up. I mean, I'm not gonna tease everything because we got some good stuff coming up. But I will say this: next week, I had an interaction on Twitter Spaces yesterday. They got me on there. Diddy in the crowd. He got me in there. People got me in there, and I started talking to Damian Woody. I didn't get a chance to finish what the things that I want to say on Spaces, so talk to him. Damian Woody is going to be on the show next week. Also, we're going to also bring back my man, my boy Chris Evans, who I feel like is a very important piece of this team. We're going to bring this back next week, so please make sure you guys check that out. Chris Evans, I've always said, is one of the most dynamic running backs, in the NFL. And I just think that he's going to be a very, very critical part of this team. So I'm really looking forward to that too.
Facts. Well, thank you guys for watching the Wincinnati podcast. We will be back with you guys next week. Remember, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:30. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Wincinnati podcast.
Cincinnati. Yes. Hello, world. We got a special show as always. TJ Hushmanzada, Jimmy Chase, Coach Jimmy Burrow.
Time to be a Bengals
How do
fan.
you balance being a professional athlete and family obligation? These are top 5 Bengals of all time.
All time? Yeah, shock the world.